In Hollywood, where relationships come and go like movie roles, there was something different about Malcolm-Jamal Warner and Michelle Thomas. They weren't just another couple caught up in the spotlight. They were real. They met in the early 90s, both young, talented, and already famous. Malcolm from The Cosby Show and Michelle from Family Matters. While the world saw them as stars behind the scenes, they were just two people falling in love. Their relationship wasn't loud or flashy. You didn't see them in the tabloids every other week. They kept things private, which made their bond feel even more special. People close to them often said they were deeply connected, like they truly understood each other. Michelle had this bright, warm energy, and Malcolm was more thoughtful and grounded. Together, they balanced each other out perfectly. After a few years of dating, things changed. They decided to break up. It wasn't a dramatic breakup. There were no fights in public, no angry interviews. It was quiet, respectful. They still cared about each other, but they felt it was time to go their separate ways. Most couples in Hollywood move on quickly and cut ties completely, but not them. Even after the breakup, Malcolm stayed close. They weren't a couple anymore, but their connection never really went away. He was still part of her life, just in a different way. For Malcolm, stepping away wasn't easy because he hadn't stopped caring. And as life would show, the care would turn into something much deeper during Michelle's hardest days. In 1997, something happened that would change everything. Michelle Thomas, just 28 years old at the time, was diagnosed with a rare and aggressive form of stomach cancer. It came out of nowhere. She was young, healthy, a vegetarian, someone who took care of herself. There were no big warning signs, just stomach pain that kept getting worse. When doctors finally figured out what it was already serious. Michelle didn't want anyone to feel sorry for her. She didn't go public with it. She didn't make a big announcement. That just wasn't who she was. She chose to fight it quietly, surrounded by her closest family and friends. Even as her health started to decline, she kept smiling, kept being kind, kept trying to stay strong for everyone else. But the truth was she was really sick. The treatments were hard. Her body was tired. And through all of it, Malcolm was there. They hadn't been together as a couple for years, but that didn't matter. He never left her side. He visited her in the hospital. He sat with her, talked with her, held her hand. He didn't do it for attention. He did it because he still loved her, and because she still loved him. Michelle's family later said something that stuck with people, that she loved Malcolm more than any man she'd ever known. Even though they weren't together, that love had never gone away. On December 23, 1998, just 2 days before Christmas, Michelle passed away in the hospital. And in those final moments, Malcolm was right there, lying next to her in the hospital bed, holding her. That's how deep their bond really was. Losing Michelle hit Malcolm-Jamal Warner hard. This wasn't just the loss of a friend or someone he used to date. It was the loss of someone he had truly loved, someone who had been a big part of his heart and his life. And the way she passed so young, so full of life, made it even harder. For a long time, Malcolm didn't talk much about it. Not because he didn't care, but because the pain was too deep, too personal. When he finally did speak about Michelle in interviews years later, his words were always full of respect. You could feel how much she meant to him just by the way he talked. He never turned her story into something for the spotlight. He didn't use her name for attention. Instead, he honored her quietly. He kept her memory alive in the way he lived and the way he carried himself. Michelle's death changed him. It made him more thoughtful, more serious about the things he chose to do in life. He poured his emotions into his work, whether it was acting, music, or poetry. He started picking roles that had meaning, things that spoke to him on a deeper level. That loss became a part of him, but instead of letting it break him, he used it to grow. Grief is strange. It doesn't go away. It just becomes part of you. And for Malcolm, Michelle was always there, somewhere in the background of his life. Even as time passed and he found new relationships, new success, that connection with Michelle stayed with him. He never forgot her, and he never will. Today, People still remember Michelle Thomas, not just for her roles on TV, but for who she was as a person. Fans loved her as Myra from Family Matters, always sweet, always funny. But those who knew her personally say she was even more special in real life. Kind, humble, full of light. She had this way of making people feel seen and loved. Her time here was short, but she left a deep mark. And Malcolm, he kept moving forward with his life and career. But if you watch him closely or listen to the way he talks about the past, you can still feel Michelle's presence. Maybe it's in the emotion behind his words. Maybe it's in the calm way he carries himself. It's clear that her memory stayed with him, not as something painful, but as something meaningful. Something that shaped who he became. What they had wasn't a perfect Hollywood romance. It didn't end in a happy ever after, but that's what makes it so real. It was deep, it was true, and it didn't need the spotlight to prove it. Even after they broke up, their love didn't go away. It changed, but it never disappeared. And in the end, Malcolm was there for Michelle in the way that really mattered. Their story is a reminder that some connections are bigger than titles or time. Love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's the way someone shows up for you when you're at your lowest. That's what Malcolm and Michelle had. And even though her life ended too soon, the love they shared never really ended. It's still here, in memory, in heart, and in every person who hears their story.